A very warm welcome back to Blighty Day Fiance, your fifth, sixth, or seventh, if we're lucky, favorite reality TV recap podcast. My name is Michelle.
Hey everyone, I'm Jack. I am originally from New York, been in LA for a little too long in my opinion, a few years. Extensive entertainment background, which is sort of how I ended up here on this show. Few notable places I have worked, places like the Howard Stern Show, Artie Lang Show, America's Got Talent, The Voice. I've worked on movies. I had something at Cannes once. And in addition to all of that fun stuff, I also have traveled the world as an international salesman, which gives me a bit of a different perspective on all of these lovely people that we are watching on all of these shows. And I'm just so excited to get into it and talk about everything.
So who do you want to start with, Jack?
Yes. Let's start with Shawn and Aaliyah.
I love a character arc. I love a queer love story where family members, friends, and parents are supportive. I think we're all done to death with, and I'm certainly, this is in no way downplaying the difficulties and obstacles that queer people face, particularly when finding love abroad. But it's nice to see the nice side, and it's nice to see people coming together and celebrating a woman like Alliya in all her splendor. I think what the producers of this show get wrong pretty consistently these days, and if you need any evidence of this, watch any reunion. I know I can't. They don't understand that the audience is actually craving real love stories and wanting things to work out. Look, nobody wants a soap opera with no villains, but we do occasionally need some people to root for and some couples to root for. And I think they got this right. The only thing that concerned me was I was a little bit worried about the timing of the proposal.
I think you have a good point there. I mean, look, I like Shawn. I think he seems like a nice guy. He has a interesting backstory. But yeah, I mean, whether or not this story is massaged at all, I mean, I don't think there's that much that is not massaged. I mean, we're looking at this. You just brought it up. I mean, he didn't work with Anita 3 weeks ago. I mean, it felt like he was sitting on that for months. And I in that, how does that make you feel though? When you're saying it causes worry almost about their relationship, in what way? That it was just kind of like, regardless of how Shawn was really feeling about Alliya, he was just determined to marry her regardless of if it was Douglas or Alliya?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And there's also the fact that for me, once you've had a good dick, what else is there? And that's different for everyone. But for me personally, I'm thinking he was...
Like, it's different. It's different for me also. I mean, just to put on the record.
Sure. Sure. I imagine so. But Shawn was married to a woman. He doesn't identify as bisexual. He says he doesn't want to put a label on it. That's great. Why put a label on it? But he's
Absolutely.
given hints, particularly in what I call the miserable man scene, which is, if you've ever been out and about and seen a couple shopping, you know what I'm talking about. The archetypal miserable man who just...
You're bringing up the nightmarish scene that it may have been the thing I have identified with on this season so far more than anything else. I got the impression from him, like, okay, I've already been with a woman. Like, that's not for me anymore. Like,
Right.
I did
Right.
that. I'm not into it. And it looked like the last fucking thing he wanted to do was stand in a department store while clothes were being tried on. So the jump from that to Alliya, I love you. Will you marry me? It was interesting.
I don't think this is a gay relationship thing, or I think it's more of an age gap thing. You know, like,
And yeah,
so,
well, just for the record, it's what, 61 and 25.
yeah, 25 would be young for me. Like, I couldn't date a 25-year-old. I'd be
Oh, I would
exhausted.
never. I'd be bored and exhausted, which is a horrible combination.
Yeah, so I'm cautiously optimistic, but I think it's important to remember that in age gap relationships like this, normally the person who, and it's not just age, you know, it can happen because of socioeconomics, it can happen for religious or cultural reasons. Normally, the older person or the person with the most power, so, you know, the richer person or whatever, is calling the shots and
Yes.
becomes accustomed to calling the shots. And I think my biggest concern for them as a couple is Alliya is 25, and you go through, if you're anything like me, you go through like 20 iterations of yourself in that 1 year alone, let alone the person that you become when you're 30 or 35 or 40. You know, it's
Well, and you're saying this from, if we look at this, I mean, the machinations of Alliya, it's not just compared to you, famously straight, who, doesn't think about anything else, and you still had all of these different phases of yourself.
mm-hmm.
Look at Alliya is getting comfortable with her true identity, new, and luckily being welcomed with open arms. But that's she's going to continue to change. I mean, as we all do. And then I know what you're saying, because what does this relationship look like when it's 66 and 30? And what does it look
Right.
like if they're still together at 70 and whatever it is? It's going. I don't know that they get closer. I'm concerned that they might start getting further apart. What exactly do you think is going to happen between Shawn and Aaliyah? I mean, in the sense of that you're worried about it, but is this over the next few years you're concerned for them, or sort of immediately?
I couldn't say. I don't think that Shawn has had enough time to grieve.
You're saying that that's probably not enough time between like going to the essential funeral of Douglas and then proposing seemingly within like 24 to 36 hours. You're saying that might have not been enough time for Shawn.
I would caution against it. I think there's a lot of emotional yada yadaing with this, and
Yes, there is.
there's always that hope, and I had it because I got married very young. There's always that hope because nobody goes into a marriage like problem free, but there's always like a small part of you, I think especially when you're young, that thinks we'll get married and they won't be insecure anymore, or we'll get married and this thing will just hit a level, you know? And spoiler alert, they won't, and it won't.
And it doesn't.
And it doesn't. Okay, we are back now with Kyle and Ani.
The least creepy couple that's ever been on any of these shows. Complete sarcasm. Super fucking creepy. This feels a little bit like the two almost it's like a take from the Little Mermaid, the what are they, eels, I think, that are swimming around.
Flotsam and
These two
Jetsam.
remind me there, thank you. they remind me a lot of Flotsam and Jetsam. They're just sort of circling each other, and
It reminds me of a story that one of my clients told me. Divorce is like putting two scorpions in a box. You ever put two scorpions in a box? And I said, I have not. And he goes,
all the time.
all the time. Of course I do. And he goes, the thing is, a scorpion would rather sting itself to death and suffer through its own poisoning than let the other scorpion win.
So a scorpion would essentially kill itself before it let itself be killed by another scorpion.
Yes.
Okay, that's fascinating. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, again, I don't like to make broad generalizations or indeed generalizations about broads, but having worked with my fair
But
share
you're
of
going to.
having worked with my fair share of German women, and maybe it's just German women from cities or certain whatever. There's a mastery that they have at turning an emotional argument, or even not even an argument, a conversation about feelings into something that requires like a PowerPoint presentation and peer-reviewed studies. And they'll basically, at the end of it, they're going to tell you that however you feel is wrong based on logic.
But so reason and logic. And now, but that
Yes.
sounds, as an American, that sounds very Germanic. I mean, it sounds like a bit of these stereotypes. Are you saying she is seemingly a bit of that stereotypical German woman?
I wouldn't say stereotypical. I think it's a cultural thing. Although I do worry about a German woman in the modern era who uses the phrase final answer. It's a little too close to a phrase that's now outlawed in Germany, I believe, for my
It
comfort.
is, and and my comfort as well. Everybody, this might come as a huge shock, since I said I was from New York and live in Los Angeles, but I'm a Jew.
I can honestly say I have no idea where this one is going. I'm not sure that I want to.
Now go into this, because you said you were really turned on by the way he eats.
Stop
so
it.
It's everything about him. It's the way he moves. It's the way he sits. It's the way he oddly he fidgets with himself. At that eating scene, he was touching his neck every few seconds, and it almost looked like he was massaging the food down. It was fucking disgusting, and I think he's a gross person, and I refuse to believe that he's Jewish. I don't care if he has a big dick, but I don't believe he's Jewish.
Oh my goodness. Well, it looks like next week we get a peek into their intimate life, which I am going to try to muster the courage to cover with you.
I'm already turned on by it, though, so I am a step ahead of you.
You're already prepping yourself for it. You've been working on your tantric breathing exercises so that you can last
I need
longer.
this to last hours. I mean, I'm going to be better than Sting at tantric sex from watching them.
I'm so sorry. That's a noise absolutely no one needs to hear. Okay, should we... Now we've got two couples left. Do you want to talk about Madelein and Luke next, or do you want to talk about Alex and Adriano?
Okay, I have a lot to say on all four of these people, and I think we should let's end with Alex and Adriano, and
Okay.
let's pick up Luke and Madelein right now. Who,
Okay.
Yes.
So on a
Take it
pure
away.
on a pure symbiotic level, you sent me a message earlier today that Luke bears a striking resemblance to Jerry Horn from Twin Peaks.
Who is, for the record, if you guys are curious, played by an actor named David Patrick Kelly.
So this is actually a surprise I have for you. So you said that to me after I had a discussion with my husband about who does Madelein sound like.
Okay.
So this is going to, I hope that this is going to surprise and delight you as much as it did me, and that the listeners love it even more. So I'm going to play a clip of Madelein, which is, germane to the plot and to our discussion.
I'm so hurt that Luke questions my intention. For the last year, all I done is work and wait for him come to visit. I have proven my loyalty to him over and over and over again.
And now I'm going to play you something else.
Are you Laura Palmer?
I feel quiet. No, but sometimes my arms bend.
Okay, I am delighted by this. Okay,
now,
so
was that worth the wait? Was it worth
really
the wait?
Was. It was 100% worth the wait, because it proves that we are connected to the Lynchian universe, which is very interesting. And you finally just also made me fully realize who she sounds like. And she sounds like backwards talking Laura Palmer in the Red Lodge. Black Lodge.
Yes. The Red Room in the Black Lodge.
That is fucking... Yes, excuse me. Yes, there you go. The Red Room in the Black Lodge. That is fucking crazy. I'm not going to make you play it again, but I have to listen to it again later,
I think we have to play it again.
Wild.
I
okay,
think
fine. Let's hear
all
it
right.
again.
So, especially because you were laughing through part of it, and so I really want the listeners to hear it.
So sorry.
Okay.
I'm so hurt that Luke questions my intention. For the last year, all I done is work and wait for him come to visit. I have proven my loyalty to him over and over and over again.
Are you Laura Palmer?
I feel quiet. No, but sometimes my arms bend.
Well, you can thank Robin, because he's the one that came up with it. But then, not kidding,
Robin, I'm thanking you now.
like 10 minutes later, you sent me that text, and then I ran to Robin and I was like screaming. I was like, "This is crazy!" Like, what year is it?
So I have to say that sort of like changes my perspective of them a little bit, because now it just feels like two Twin Peaks characters who I don't think ever really interacted, at least not in that space in the show. It's like a new scene. It's like a new scene of Twin Peaks after I thought we were never getting any more.
Now there's another. I agree. I sort of like them now. Um, there's another interesting vocal inflection to comment upon. So again, I'm gonna play two clips.
And look, I'm a pleaser, and I want her to be happy, but I need to be happy as well. Whether she signs the prenup or not, I think the dynamic in the relationship does need to change. She's calling me. Hello?
Now, I don't know if everybody detected that, but that is part of a phenomenon known as girlfriend voice. So I'm just going to play a little clip here from a popular late night show.
His fiance's brother's going to be there. I think the stripper's a no-go. Oh, sorry, I got to take this. Hello? Oh, hey, baby. Hey. I'm just out with the guys. But I wish I was with you. Yeah. Okay, I'll be home soon. Okay, bye-bye.
Dude, what was that?
What? That was my girlfriend.
Okay, that was pretty gross.
Yeah, man, save your girlfriend voice for when you're alone. Okay, I'm fine.
Now this begs the question, do you have a girlfriend voice?
I have a wife voice.
A wife
I
voice.
suppose. I could be, let's say, for example, I was like really heated in the middle of something. Maybe having like some sort of disagreement with someone or whatever, just being passionate. I'm a quarter Sicilian. The passion just flies off of me. So it would sound more for me, it would be like, okay, I'm not going to yell right now, but pretend I'm like sort of getting into something with someone. Then it would sound like, hey, what's going on? Oh yeah, no problem. That sounds great. No, absolutely, no, 100. Yeah, no, wherever you want to eat, that's great. Yeah, no, absolutely. No, whatever you want. Do you need me to do anything? Yeah, fantastic. I love you so much. I'll see you in a little while. Bye. Or do you have any wrap-up thoughts on, before we move on from them, do you have any wrap-up thoughts on those two?
I do. I think that I want to say first and foremost, and this is, going to be a controversial point, and I welcome any alternative viewpoints. I think, sorry, I completely blanked on her name. I think Madelein looks like a sexy cartoon squirrel or a mouse. Like one that's weirdly wearing clothing and has like big eyelashes sort of out of nowhere. Like I want to narrow it down to a specific character, but I can't. I just think that she looks like a sexy cartoon. It's definitely like mouse, chipmunk, squirrel kind of territory, but it doesn't feel mousy.
So not like a. So not a Jessica Rabbit type, because that's going to be an adult woman.
You brought this up again. Do you think that Jessica Rabbit is a rabbit? Because you keep bringing her up when I talk about animals.
No, it was in relation. It was only in relation to this. And I think that I was just thinking of a cartoon, but when you just said that, now I'm picturing more like when Bugs Bunny like puts on like fake eyelashes and lipstick and stuff like that. It's more in that vein, I think.
You mean, did you ever get turned on when Bugs Bunny would dress up like a girl bunny?
That's exactly what I was just thinking. That's from the very current film Wayne's World from 1991.
Some of you weren't even born then.
What I'm seeing is she's kind of on the one track of just she wants to marry him. She wants him to be with her always. And for him, I see a 30-year-old guy who's like the bottom just fell out. He's walking around with extraordinarily straight across sunglasses that as a glasses wearer I would never wear. They won't block. I'll tell you, don't buy his glasses. They won't block any sun out. The sun will come right through the top of the glasses.
Yeah, and also their AliExpress
Tacky?
glasses that the real cost is about 10 cents. And he talks a big game about being an entrepreneur, but anybody who works in product marketing, which you and I both have, you and I have both worked for tech companies, if if you don't have a marketing budget and you don't have a go-to-market strategy or a plan, you don't have sales for that product.
Fuck, are you saying that I should not have dropped $30,000 into like spec glasses and have like just a huge amount of glasses sitting around with no selling strategy?
With no one to
Shit.
sell them, no one to model them, no idea about how to distribute them or
Do you think that he in some way was just sort of hoping like, I don't know, I'm going to show my fucking glasses on the show and then no matter how people feel about me, a bunch of people buy the glasses because I was on the show. Do you think
yeah, of
that's
course
a
he
thought
thought
at
that.
all?
There's
Okay.
I have been reliably informed by reality TV cast members from different shows that if you're not selling something, you are wasting your time and there is something wrong with you. Like, your only aim going on these shows should be to sell things. And now increasingly with like influencers and stuff like that, that product is themselves. And that's fine. No shade, no pun intended. But he's missing a step here, which is that normally, and every smart person who has been on this show has done that, right?
Yes.
Has used this as leverage, and anyone who, whose reputation has survived has done it. So, look out for that. There are people who go on Real Housewives to leave their husbands. There are people who go on Real Housewives to launch a business. And there are people who go on Real Housewives to get attention. And that third one will fuck you every time. And you'll look at the money and you'll be like, who fucked me? Say what you will about the character Jerry Horn. Is he a disgusting dirtbag? Absolutely. Did he have wearable accoutrement that underscored what he was feeling or thinking at all times? Yes, he did.
Yes.
And it was one of the greatest joys of the show.
So if we get to watch Luke more, whether it's obviously this season, but if they're on, God forbid, if they're on some other iteration of this, do you think, okay, we're going to have to keep an eye on it because I want to see if Luke matches what's going on. Are the accoutrements becoming, more and more related to what's going on? Are they accentuating what's going on?
First of all, you said accentuating, and
No, I didn't. Accentuating. I was accentuating.
you said accentuating. We're gonna see a lot of weeping Virgin Marys around his neck. We're gonna start to see some emaciated crucifixes. We're going to start to see some thorny crowns. That's the direction I feel this is headed in. Let's talk about Alex and Adriano.
Alex, 30 from Dallas with Adriano, 33 in Naples. Italy,
Yes.
not Florida.
Yes. Important distinction. I think we'd have a very different story there. Maybe fewer complications, maybe not. So she's meeting his mom and her partner for the first time. But Alex is going in with an agenda, and I would love to get your take on this. So, bear with. Here we go.
Adriano's mom is Catholic, and he told me before that he used to go to church with her all the time. I'm bringing up religion because I'm trying to connect with his mom to see why Adriana doesn't want to go to church anymore.
And there's a really interesting discussion and an unexpected one, I thought, that came from this, which is basically that his mother, Adriana's mother, accepts that he's an atheist and that that's not the brand of beliefs that he subscribes to. She doesn't have a problem with it. And she and her partner both, the upshot is if he loves you and he loves you right and cares about you, why does it matter, if his, and well, I'll let him say it for himself here.
I want to trust him enough to support me in my journey as a Christian.
I'm having an unconditional love towards you when you are trying to change who I am and make me believer. You should accept me for...
I did accept you for who you are.
Se è cosciente.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I have an immediate comment, which is, I accept you for who you are, but why are you the way that you are, and can you change?
I accept you for who you are, but why are you like this?
And can you change, please? But I accept you unconditionally.
So I really appreciated that conversation because I think, look, we all have beliefs or we don't, and to get that kind of support from your family is really important, I think. And it's even more important to have that kind of support from your partner. And when we talked about this before the show, I was sort of saying, I feel like there's different conflicts going on in different conversations. And the editors, the story editors, could focus on one thing, but instead they've made this big kind of gloopy sort of thing to which everything sticks. So is the main issue faith, for example? Well, yes, in this episode, it
Yes.
sort of is.
Yeah, this week. Yes, this week.
But we're also bringing in the threesome thing. We're also bringing in, and I do want to acknowledge the race discussion. It's not just that Adriano has no idea what it's like to be a black woman in America. It's that Italy in particular is one of the more nationalistic European nations. And it's also especially the North, it's also a really difficult place to be a person of color.
Absolutely. And I'm the part Sicilian correspondent here, so I have a 2 cents take on this. But yeah, I mean, look, it's no surprise. I mean, or it's not shocking or news if you even tangentially follow international football, soccer. It's a terrible thing that happens, and it's not just Italy. I mean, it happens in Spain and other places as well. But horrible scenes happen in Italian soccer with just to put a real point on it is they're known for throwing bananas at players on the field and having inflatable bananas in the stands, and and when you can even get that kind of stuff into a stadium, it's kind of like the racism is encouraged. So like you said, yeah, I'm not going to fault him for not understanding a black woman's experience in Dallas, Texas, but I am going to fault him for dating a black woman and having apparently no understanding of how racist his country is, especially where he lives in the North. And look, maybe he's had like a really lucky ride and has just never run into anything, but I have a hard time believing that. And I wonder if that maybe throws out there a little bit the level or lack of seriousness with which he's taking this relationship. And I'm segueing, and stop me if you don't want me to segue, but I'm segueing into the threesome thing because it's like, what does this guy really want? Like, does he want to get married and have a family with someone, or does he want to fuck 3 women at one time, 2 women at one time? I like that feels like, because that's his like my close to God moment is when I get to fuck 2 girls at the same time.
From what he describes, I feel like he just wants to have 2 women who sort each other out, so that he doesn't have to do too much heavy lifting. And he kind of just gets to, both enjoy the show and then have his nipples and his dick sucked at the same time. I don't know, whatever he's into.
Are you yet to notice his jagged nipple piercing?
I haven't noticed it, but you brought this up before. Is it a lightning bolt, or is it that like sort of like horn type thing that some Italian, like I always see Italian women wearing it at the one earring?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. It looks like a jagged piece of metal, but maybe there's more form around it. But his nipple piercing aside, I think, well, actually not his nipple piercing aside. I want to talk about his nipple piercing. Well, not really, but just the existence of it. Okay. Mm-hmm. I want to have threesomes and have nipple piercings. And my girlfriend, who I've spent 11 days with all time, but I'm very, very serious about her. She's like apparently very religious. We didn't really find that out until the last couple of episodes. But I don't know. I'm struggling to find what they like about each other. I'm sure they like to have sex with each other, but even that seems like there's like a lot more attached to it than having a good time or being close.
Yes, and I'm so glad you mentioned that, because when she introduced herself in the beginning, she talked about having had threesomes before, but not in the context that she raises in this episode, which is this was stuff that I did when I was partying a lot, and I thought that I had to do this in order to, keep a man or get a guy to like me. Those are two very different experiences,
right,
and very different contexts. And within that, she talks about God and I guess some form of like forgiveness or absolution, or the point I was trying to make is that the cause and cure, as it were, is shame. She is drawn to religion because she feels ashamed of her past. The cure for that shame is more shame and more judgment.
Gotcha.
And I wonder if part of this is, and it was specifically when she talks about, why do you let this pleasure have so much power over you? Like, that's really shaming language.
I mean, she's trying to draw a parallel between threesomes, he used to go to church and now he doesn't, and somehow that's like all tied together for her. And I feel like those are kind of disparate pieces. I don't think his lack of going to church is why he likes threesomes. I think he likes threesomes. I think he stopped going to church a long time ago because he grew up and he decided he didn't believe in God and he didn't want to go to church anymore, and his parents were fine with it. So it all comes across extremely judgmental. And I'm not sure, it goes back to, you're perfect. I love everything about you, but why are you the way you are, and can you change for me? And I don't really know what is she expecting when she's asking him these things? Is she actually expecting him to go like, oh my God, you're so right. I don't want to fuck two women at the same time anymore. I want to go to your evangelical church in Texas.
I think we've got another. I think that I don't see him as a scorpion because I don't think there's anything that deep there. I think he's just
totally
trying
agree.
to communicate his needs. But I think she is a scorpion in that she's like, I need you to prove that you don't think I'm good enough. That's what these conversations are really about. They're not about fucking threesomes and her willingness to do this. It's what she's hearing again and again and again is you're not enough. You're not enough. You're not enough. And that's all she wants is for him to say, you know what? You're not enough. Now you can go back to Texas and not feel like you missed out on the greatest love story of all time.
So it's not so much that she feels like she needs permission. It's almost like her own permission to walk away from this. And if he was to say like, yeah, I don't feel like that and I'm never going to change, maybe she would be more able to walk away.
She's trying to get him to white fang her, basically. Because it's a lot easier to walk away from someone when you can blame them. When it's you and your needs not getting met, there's always going to be some corner of your brain where you're like, oh, was I asking for too much? I think that Alex is going to step away from this relationship and realize too late that all of the stuff that she was nagging him about is the stuff that she needed to examine and answer for herself.
So if it looks very much like she needs to find a nice man from her church in Dallas, is it just the life experience maybe she needed? She needed to go to a quote exotic locale, meet a guy who she's not really compatible with from a brain chemistry level, and then she might be able to feel free enough to go home and just settle, let's say.
I think she's too ashamed to go home, and I think she needs to get it out of her head in the same way that, I didn't go to a private school, but I was in a very wealthy school district and I was in an Ivy League factory, and it has taken me more than 20 years to get it out of my head that I don't have to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever my friends are doing because I didn't go to an Ivy League school and that wasn't my path. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't have to have, and I think that she's not there yet. And she's not doing any work that's going to lead her there. Instead, she's like, I don't know, maybe I'll move to Australia and the pain will stop.
I mean, it's bleak to me for her because she's talking about her biological clock at 30 years old, and
Which
she's
is
talking
like,
about,
yeah, come on.
for anyone who's a little older than that, you might want to tell her to go fuck herself, and in a nicer way than that, perhaps. And she's entitled to her own feelings. But my point is, if she's feeling those types of feelings, I don't know what she's doing. She's aimless. I mean, she really does feel aimless. I think that is a large part of this. And I think, sadly for her, I think she needs to have this somewhat painful or disappointing experience, however you want to look at it, so she can move on. So I guess ultimately it's a growth phase for her, but I feel like she's spent too much time on this phase.
I
And
agree.
it would have been more valuable if she just used it as a bang trip and a bang guy, and that was it.
Yes. Well, to quote the great poet, that's all, folks. For today, come at us. Email us, blightydayfiance@gmail.com. Join our Patreon for more and exclusive content, all ad-free. Patreon.com/BlightyDayFiance. Come at any of the three of us on Instagram at Blighty Day Fiance. I think that is everything. Thank you to everyone who supported us throughout the hiatus. Thank you to Jack for joining the team. We're so glad you
Thank you for having me.
Well, you're so very welcome. We don't yet have our own kind of proprietary sign off. So I'm just going to say,
We're gonna have to work
yeah,
on that.
we'll workshop it. We'll figure it out. I'm going to say, see you next time in paradise.